Oh, shit. Married, overweight dudes in your car with your beards. You can roll the windows up and get into it a little bit. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Himbos podcast. It's your boy, the white D'Angelo, Justin Silver. Joining me, the cerebral siren herself, Laura Desiree. And as always in the booth, the bionic bisexual, Natalie. We are coming to you live from the Cock All Gay Men's Jello Wrestling Nightclub and Chicken Fighting Competition Club. Laura's going to be judging a sword fighting competition in a little while, and I'll be judging a boneless wing eating competition. I'm sure we're going to get letters from both PETA and the LGBTQTLZ whatever community, but we'll deal with that in an hour. Thank you so much for having us here. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for liking and subscribing on YouTube. Thank you for the 5-star ratings and reviews on iTunes. Thank you for all the love on social media. Please do all those things right now. Click bing, 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 boom with me. Let's kick it over to Laura. Oh. Happy to have you here with me, Laura.
This is like a Brave New World moment, though, because I've been a guest, right?
Yes.
Where like you come in with the itinerary and interview me, and we've like worked out that I'm just going to sit here and field your questions. But no, I'm in for this mutual moment here.
We think that Laura is going to be here for a while.
Uh-huh.
We hope so.
Uh-huh.
You all love Laura as the second seat. Josh is gallivanting around the country, doing his little skadoodles, and we support him and love him for that. I need somebody that's going to be sitting here and fielding all this shit with y'all. So Laura's going to be feeling it out. And I have to say, I was excited because we're both like in a similar place creatively, right? And we vibe very well. And it's difficult when projects kind of go awry or they take a turn. Like you're like, I burnt out.
Well,
I hit this burnout.
That's what happens. Also, you ride yourself really hard.
I do. And I burnt out, and then I was just like, shit, like I got to figure out how to kind of like move this thing forward, assuming like, while Josh is on tour. And then you were like, when I sent you this text, like, hey, how would you feel about blah, blah, blah? You were like, put me in, coach. And I was like, cool. Because the nice thing is being able to like turn some stuff over to you. Uh-huh. Like you'll be driving most of this episode. We got a lot of listener questions to answer today.
Which I'm like foaming at the mouth to get to. But this could have gone one of two ways because there is a serious chemistry between us. Like it's undeniable. Okay. Sure. It's undeniable and all of you know it as well.
Sure.
We could have entered into like the fuckdome affair of all affairs and just
You mean literally?
Yeah, I mean literally.
I didn't know we were airing this.
We wouldn't have come up
I didn't know
air
this was information that everybody was allowed to hear. Natalie, did you know this?
I did know.
No. Okay.
I mean, there's definitely a chemistry.
Publicly, you and I have a great chemistry.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so, like, there's compatibility there. But you know what? We're taking this creative venture together. And I think that could be just as satisfying.
I think so, too. I'm glad we never stooped and fucked it up.
No, I like this. But if we are getting into bed, so to speak, which is what we're doing here, it's a threesome because we got you, Natalie. I think that we need to air out any of the weirdo kinks, quirks, and irks that I need to know about you and that you need to know about me. And I'm talking about some of that deep-rooted shit that you keep in the back closet of your
I don't
mind.
keep anything in the back. It's always
it's
always on the fore. Well, what do you want to know? I'm an open book. You let me know what you want to know. I will divulge for everybody.
I would love to get into like serious phobias or weird shit we live. Look, I know you're very open about the OCD. Yeah. I know you're very open about it.
That tops the list.
Okay, maybe I need to get some of my shit out then because this is like a deep, private, seriously shameful phobia I live with, and I rarely talk about it.
Before you mention it, I called Laura this morning, Natalie, to just be like, hey, by the way, I took the questions that you sent me and I just put these little titles, and she was just like talking in this just sort of very like voice, and I was like, did I wake her up? And she goes, okay, can I go back to
That's how she sounds.
No, but more than she normally sounds like that. Like, you know what I mean? And then she goes, okay, I have to go back to masturbating now. How many are you banging out? You were annoyed that I called you for work?
I'm in the middle.
This is going to start like it started with Josh.
I was seconds away, and I'm like riding that exact moment that you're about to crest into the free fall of fucking climax, and then Justin pops up on my phone, and I'm like, what are we doing here?
Two things. You could have easily not taking the call and call me back 2 minutes later. So don't make it like you didn't want to hear my voice. And I would think that this annoying, obnoxious, semi-sexy, brooding, Jewy voice would turn you on more. So I think that's why you answered the call. You're gonna bullshit me. This is bullshit.
I got right back to it afterwards. I was
How
like,
many are you banging out a day?
Like 2 or 3.
Oh, okay, so it's okay.
Come on, that's not like weird astronomical numbers.
No, I don't know that. I don't think it is. But if you space it out.
No, I usually do 2 in one go, and then I'll do another one later.
I would say, like a lot of times when I'm going, it's like the first one, and then I'm like, let me do one more. Natalie?
Not in a row for me.
Not in a row. You space it out.
Yeah.
You're spacing your meals out.
Yeah.
That's really good self-control.
I don't know if it's like, it's just like I get in the mode and then I'm like,
for me, it's never as good the second time as the first time. So I'd rather it be the first time every time.
What? It's not as good the second time? I go into a delirium in the second time. That's my favorite one.
But women are different, let me say, because like a woman, when she has like multiple orgasms, like if you're doing the thing where you're like, it's the first wave you've rode in, then you can go back out and catch the second wave. So it's almost like it's still got the, here's a good word, look it up, refractory period of the first one. And then is it like that? Or is it like, or is there an ending, like you close the book, you start a new one?
No, the second one is weirder, and it follows seconds after the first one.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's like the way I said it.
Yeah, but like I'll notice other parts of my body and the reactions that it has to the orgasm. Like there's more of a shake, and I start to pull muscles in places, and you have to reach that again.
Question?
Yeah.
Are you using a machine?
Oh, yeah.
A machine.
Hitachi Magic Wand.
I have a joke about that. And then when I say the punchline of the joke, like all the women laugh and the guys you don't know it, you could like, it's so easy to make fun of them. That's the one, the Hitachi.
That's the best one, the plug-in.
I had this girl I was with who couldn't come from penetration, which I get that. Yeah. Like sometimes it's like different. She even has trouble coming like herself. So as a gift, next time she came over, without even telling her while we were doing it, I asked female friends of mine. I'm like, what's the one? They told me that. And then I busted it out, and I think she felt so like delighted that I gave a shit enough to be like, I was like, yeah, these orgasms of yours, like this can't just be like me coming and then you just be like tapping your neck. I'll feel like such a fucking...
Yeah, good on you.
I'll feel like such a loser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is like a power tool. The plug-in one, that's the shit right there.
My lights were blinking.
You can... I've literally bent the head of that thing and cricked my wrist into like a total snapping position and seen blue sparks come out the edges of it. Like that's... I pushed that thing. You bent
the end of it?
Yeah, it's got that tennis
ball. How tight is your vagina?
It's not inside of me. I'm not putting that thing inside of me.
Like the jaws of death to get Laura off.
Sometimes I do worry that there might be like irreversible callus or something that's like formed.
No. Because if that was the case, like every dude's like hand would just be, they'd have this one hand that just felt like sandpaper.
I ride it very hard though. Like I'll push up on that thing hard.
We'll have you do an illustration or demonstrate in one of these episodes.
And that's what I was doing this morning when you called. And now we're here.
And there's my business calls. What's the weird thing?
Okay,
You were eager to tell me this.
I know I was, and now I'm already in like the panic sweat because.
And I want to see if like you're bullshitting about how much you're.
I'm
like,
not.
How much you're.
No, this is like a
emphasizing.
It's such an embarrassing phobia, and it's like there's a lot of shame around it, okay? So
really?
My entire life since maybe 8 years old, I've had this thing that's called emetophobia.
Let's look that up.
Emetophobia.
Emetophobia.
Yeah, EMETOPHOBIA.
That part I knew.
Emetophobia.
What is it?
It's the fear of vomit.
You vomiting? Or someone else vomiting?
It used to be the fear of all vomit.
Fear?
Of seeing it, smelling it, witnessing it, but through
like you'll
years,
get sick?
No, it scares me.
It grosses you out or it scares you?
It scares me.
What scares you?
The out of control experience of it, witnessing someone else in that moment. It's like a demonic possession, but also now my modern relationship to emetophobia is just that I'm going to be sick because years of exposure therapy, which is what the fuck they make you do to get used to it.
Yeah. Like that's what you do with OCD.
I have a workbook.
Really?
For emetophobia. and a QR
Can you Google the
code.
emetophobia workbook, please?
It's a real thing. And
One person is going to be helped by
I
this.
scan a QR code every day, and I watch
A vomit video?
or listen to it.
Like, this bothers you if I do that? Does it? I'm asking honestly.
If I knew that you were actually going to throw up, yes.
Explain the difference between like the fear or like just the repulsion of it. Like, what's the fear?
Well,
like the fear expresses itself as what in your body? You're like a panic?
It's a panic. It's the same thing as like an anxiety attack, right?
Yeah,
so
I know those.
It's the panic that builds up, and I will, if I'm around someone when I'm having one of those episodes, I'll just ask, I'm going to be okay, right? I'm going to be okay, right? And they have no idea what I'm talking about. What I mean is I'm not about to throw up, right? The food you ate was good, right? You don't feel it? You feel okay?
I see. So it becomes this ubiquitous panic
Totally.
that, like, you don't know if you're going to throw up, get sick. Like,
Totally.
it can go anywhere. You can be like, is there something sick in that vomit that's going to make me die? Like,
Right.
all these things.
I haven't thrown up since I was 8 years old.
Then how do you keep that figure?
The other end. I am 34, and I have not thrown up since I was 8.
Did you used to throw up when you as a drinker?
No.
Never.
No, I would never go deep into drinking.
What
I've
happens
always been
if you
into the
throw up? What
speedy
happens
shit.
if you're sick? If you have a stomach virus?
I hold it down.
That's not possible.
Yes, it is.
If you had food poisoning?
Yes, it is. I had it 2 years ago, and I remember my body was begging, please, Laura.
This is how she sounded on the phone. Like that.
Please.
Like that, Natalie.
It was begging for it. And all of the feelings came to me. The hot and cold sweats, the extra saliva in the mouth, the rolling of the stomach, the climbing of the roller coaster. I was like...
It's a good way to say it, the climbing of the roller coaster.
Yeah, I was like, I'm about to do it. I'm about to do it. And I'm not even joking. I held my throat shut. And I said, mm-mm. And then what I could sneak in was like Gravols and Pepto-Bismol. And like, I'm getting freaked out even thinking about that night. But I got through
You know
it.
that story about where I had the food poisoning on the plane and I was throwing up for 16 hours straight? You know that story?
No, that's like really...
I don't feel like now would be the time to tell it to you.
I was on an airplane with a young man that could not stop, and they're giving the dude Gravol, and it was my worst nightmare because you couldn't get away from it.
How did this come up in your life where you're like, this is a problem, as opposed to like, yeah, our daughter does it. Like when someone throws up, she gets really upset. Like, how is it? Like, how would this have presented itself often enough to be this thing that you had to work through in therapy? Is my question. You understand what I'm saying? Like, how many people are puking around you regularly that this would become an issue? That's what I'm saying.
There was definitely a few incidents of witnessing it, but I didn't grow up in like a heavily puke family household. It's not like there was like amazing.
Well, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I guess I'm the weirdo.
Yeah, it wasn't a vomitorium where I was, but there.
Vomitorium.
That's the name of the show now.
Vomitorium. Write it down.
But I noticed that I would scan for bathrooms when I'd enter a space that wasn't my home. Where's the bathroom? Then I would start carrying a bag with me, worried, what if I have to be sick? What if I'm going to be sick?
So it's a form of OCD then?
And I guess so, because still to this day, one thing that I do to kind of manage it is I don't understand late night eating. I know that my stomach empties in about 6 hours and leaves the capacity of that part of me. It enters into the intestines.
Sure.
And if it's in the intestines, it's not coming back up. I don't want to eat unless I have 6 to 8 hours before I lay down. I don't know why. I can't surrender to sleep if I know there's a chance
for you to throw up in your sleep. You have to be in control. You got to be in control of that.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's all OCD is a form of control.
100%.
I'm serious.
It's part of it.
People, they like all these weird phobias people have. They're just like when I was like working on like, I got this body. I tell you this, like my OCD has taken on so many different forms.
Yeah.
When I was like a kid, it was like twitching and tapping and like patterns, which I know why it like all started from like my like abusive shit that happened in my childhood as a way to like distract myself from it. Like I remember
interesting.
I remember the clear day this started.
Yeah.
I remember like there was no like subterfuge with the psychology. Like I remember overtly thinking like if I focus on this other thing is not happening.
It's a distraction.
It's a distraction.
Yeah, totally.
But then as I got older, like it was a little bit more insidious in the way it expressed itself. Like I told you, like when I was like this is why we do so much hair loss talk on this show. Like as I started losing my hair, the paranoia of what that meant became this like 24/7 obsession, which when people have like body dysmorphic disorder, it's such like an unsympathetic thing because you're like, shut the fuck up. People have like real problems. Like you're worried that you're too fat, right? So it was like, that's not what it was. I was like, what it represented that like this body part of mine was falling off without my control. I had this exacerbated reaction to it, which the good news of that is it's like, oh, I figured out the solution so you don't have to go bald, which is a great thing. But at the same time, I was like, I know this is taking on a life of its own that is a lot bigger than the actual issue itself. And then I couldn't control it. So I was going to see a therapist to like work through the obsession part of it and try to separate it. Because it's also like, that's an embarrassing thing to talk about. Like, why are you so freaked out and can't go to this party? It's like, because my hair's thinning a little bit. Like, it had nothing to do with that actual thing. It was because my OCD is acting up in a way. This is just what it's focusing on. Did you understand what I'm saying?
Well, I think that this emetophobia is rooted in control and rooted in the need to have it, especially over my own body.
Yeah.
So there's a link there.
Sure.
I think that there's a similarity there. It definitely, it used to be worse. I used to like cancel doing things like attending certain events.
See, that's what I was getting at. Like it really started becoming obtrusive.
But that's when you have to like take, you gotta acknowledge that shit.
No, I get
meet
that.
It head on.
I get that. I had my OCD, there were times where I was paralyzed by like you go into fight, flight, and freeze. Like I was frozen.
Wow.
And I would not be able to, like I'd be in mid conversation with someone and just stop talking because I was so overwhelmed by like the feelings and thoughts that I were having that like nothing else could. You know when like someone catches you in a very blatant lie, the way your speech pattern will change, and then you just start you're just like you're caught.
Yeah.
My speech patterns, this turns her on. My speech patterns would take on this, and then I just have to. I'd go sit down, and the girlfriend I was dating at the time, like we were like, remember I said it was like there's people who accept you, understand you, and then get you. Like you and I get each other, right? Then there's people who understand each other, and there's people who just like she didn't understand me at all. She just like accepted me.
But did you talk with her about this?
It didn't matter because like on a gut level, like we just didn't get each other. We were just too different, and as much as we wanted to like, you know, have this nice confluence of love and heart and mind, we just didn't. So it's like that relationship. But she would be like, she'd get upset. She'd be like, I hate when you get like this. Which would make it like 10 times worse because then there was like the self-criticism of like, do you understand what I'm saying?
No, it puts a fucking wall up at that point, right?
Yes.
Well, it takes two people wanting to do that work to build that safety to get vulnerable.
We never had good sex was the problem.
Well, you didn't have good sex because this was between you. Let's be real.
The same thing, but no, that the first thing was like we never had that like we never like as physically attractive as she was and as attracted as I was to her on like this other emotional level as well. We never had that like we never were like had that thing where like sex was like kind of magical. And I always felt like, oh, one of these ones is going to feel like the first one that it should. And it never did.
Did someone have their eyes closed through most of it? Like, were you looking at each other? I find that really like anchors intimacy. If you can have that.
No. We had that kind of thing. There was just like, you know, later on you realize like why things are the way they are as you can sort of like, you know, the meanings of things elucidate themselves in hindsight.
Yeah.
I'm speaking very eloquently today, Natalie.
That's the effect.
I want
it's
it.
The Lord Desiree.
You're doing a great job.
I'm doing a very good job.
So,
I'm not stumbling on my words.
So gag reflex.
No, anyway, we just never had that like fucking awesome connection. And so then, you know, as like, you know, after the first 3 months of a relationship, like the real person actually shows up and I'm like, hey, here's a psycho you've really been dating and the other things that are going to annoy you if you think this list is not enough.
You stop
and
dating the representative.
Yeah, you stop dating the representative and then from there it just like turns to total shit. So, all right, so your puke phobia.
Yeah.
Well, I accept you for that.
Thank you. I also need, ideally there's 6 hours between eating and blowjobs. That's how you get the best blowjob from me. If it's been too soon after eating, I'm not taking it to that place. You know,
so
where
the dinner date is out. You don't take Laura out for the dinner date.
No, the dinner date is there, but like just know I'm
6
going
hours
to,
I have to listen to you yap?
6 fucking hours. before I want to take that risk. Otherwise, it'll be mediocre. It'll be decent. But like, if you want to do that entry where
8 o'clock reservation, 2 in the morning, I'm just getting started.
That's what
I've
you
got
have
fucking the gym to hit in the morning.
That's where I'm at right now with it.
Eat at old people dinner time at like 5.
Yeah, thank you.
5.
I love
There you
doing
go.
that. I love
5.
doing that.
No one's gonna be there.
Oh, that makes me feel
Exactly.
so happy to eat at 5 o'clock. Oh, fuck me. I love that.
How often do you eat? You're in great shape right now. Didn't you lost like 10 pounds or
Yes,
something?
I did, and I've been crushing it.
Yeah, I see. You've been working your ass off, Laura. You're
Working
fit as
that
fuck.
shit. Oh.
You've been lifting.
Yes, I've been lifting, and I love the results. But I like to eat. I do a little fast in the morning, and then I usually
Till
eat
when?
in the middle of my day, like 11.
11's when you start.
That's when I start. Yeah,
You wake up at what time?
I wake up at like 8.
That's okay. Good. Yeah.
It's a little one, but
No, the intermittent fast, and you stop eating at like 8.
I will not eat after 8.
So you do the 6. So you're intermittent fasting.
Exactly.
You do 16 hours.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's like the
16
perfect.
hours.
That's just 16 hours. Yeah.
Right. And I like that, and that works for me. And you know what? I feel good in my system doing
Good.
that. I don't
Yeah.
have any weird neuroses at night. Like, oh my God, is this going to come back up? Like, it is that level of obsession in my mind.
I believe you. I'm
everyone
I'm
says
glad
to
you feel
me-
comfortable enough to air this with me and with everybody.
Listen, the amount of times people have said to me, yeah, well, no one likes throwing up.
No one likes throwing
I
up.
get it, but you don't understand. Like, it's a fucking fear. And everyone's like, well, why don't you just take some Epicac and just get over it? Just do it.
Is that what you had to do for the
That's what you do when you...
exposure? I know what Epicac is.
yeah,
I
when
have
you
it for
in-
my dogs. If they swallow anything they're not supposed to. You always
What's
have
in it that makes you do that?
I don't. What's in Epicac? Something that makes you. I think it's like something peroxide, because peroxide does the same thing. If you give an animal or a baby like peroxide, they'll throw up too.
So there's whatever that
Science,
ingredient is,
baby,
keep it away from me
science.
forever.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I live with. That's my shit.
That's it.
It's a bad one. I'm a part of like a bunch of social media emetophobia support groups.
Do you have a support group with like other people in there?
Yeah,
And you go to meetings?
and it's everyone.
You go to meetings?
I don't go to meetings.
You don't go to
I
meetings
would-
with other people, like a Zoom meeting,
I feel like it would be not
or
a
like
Zoom.
in a circle, like in like Fight
I would
Club?
like to find
Fight Club?
one. I'd like to find one.
That'd be cool if like you walked in, because it's gonna be a bunch of fucking like weirdos, and then Laurel.
And then I would go to one. I'm part of online groups that chat
They give you a
about
little
this.
keychain like every 30 days, like you've like.
I would
Not
be a
freaked out
part.
from puke?
I'd be a part of a group like that. I'm on one on Instagram. It's an emetophobia support group, but it's just people.
Oh, bring it up, please. Bring up the emetaphobe. Bring up the fucking.
It's a
the
private
puke freaks.
chat. It's a private chat.
Oh, it's not like they don't
No,
have
it's-
like
it's
they
the-
don't give like memes every day, like you know. They
There
don't, like,
are
they're-
there are those
like they're
floating around.
motivational.
Yeah, listen, there's enough of us out there. It feels isolating when you have a phobia that's so fucking bizarro. Like this one to me feels I've never met anyone with emetophobia until I found this support group. And all it is every 5 minutes is someone saying, I don't feel well, guys. This is what I ate today. This is what my body temperature
Listen
is.
to me.
This is
Hairlosstalk.com. My screen name
There you
was
go.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
No.
I was in these forums talking to. You have to understand the obsessiveness of when dudes are losing their hair. Who like the obsessiveness of this? Like they're like, okay, woke up this morning, 11 hairs on my pillow. I slept on my right side. Then when I showered, I made sure that they have a certain drain stop that like I did the thing where I put the cellophane over the drain and poked holes in it, lifted it up. Here's the picture of how many hairs are here. I'm currently on dutasteride, finasteride, blah, blah, blah. They'll give you like, there's like the obsession of this with dudes whose hair becomes so insane. And I was like, I went on to just try to like get information to try to be like, can I stop it? And it's like, all it is other people in a fucking panic.
In a
And it's
downward
like,
spiral.
in a downward
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
and you see it and I'm like, oh shit, it made me, I'm like, I'm not the only one who's like going crazy from this, but I'm like, I don't think they were aware that like, hey, you have like an obsessive compulsive disorder that's landing on this. But it is so much more prevalent than you think that is, which is why I love like talking about that shit on this show. I'm like, I get it. It's not like a vanity thing. I mean, part of it is, but
As a woman that runs a razor over her fucking head every few days, I'm
do you shave it bald?
not all the way, but I have the
It
clippers.
looks great like that.
I have the clippers, and I just the other day forgot what guard I was on, and so I actually went lower than I've been.
Not
So-
many people can pull that off.
Thank you.
You're beautiful.
Thank
Laura.
you very
we
much.
think you're beautiful. Laura. Puke, puke phobia and all.
Puke and all.
Is there anything else you wanted to tell me, or
No, I'm just
or
pleased.
do you want to go into these listeners' questions? We got some good ones.
I want to do listener questions because I feel like I need to redeem after being that vulnerable. Let me be a voice of guidance and leadership once again to all of you.
Please, I need
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Let me just say you can send your questions into himbospodcast@gmail.com, and Laura and I will also be soliciting for questions on our social medias, which are...
Oh, Laura X Desiree. Get me on Instagram and on the X.
And mine is at I am Justin Silver, and it's also Himbos Podcast on all social media platforms. There might be a change of the name of this show, which we will figure out. It will just find itself. It'll just find itself if we decide to do that. So we got a bunch of great questions. Thank you guys for writing in. If your name is, and if you want to remain anonymous, just don't put your name, and we'll say that it's anonymous. We will always respect your privacy over
You got
here.
it.
You want to take the first one?
Yeah, okay, this is no name. It is from an anonymous, and it says, "Hey Himbos."
There's a title to it. I put
my.
titles.
Oh, are we ready for this, everyone?
Give the title.
Boyfriend's kink gives me the ick. I love it already. Okay, hey Himbos, yay, Laura's back. So I'm in a new thing with this guy who has an insatiable sex drive, which I love. However, there's one move he always insists on in the bedroom that gives me the ick. He's a footman, which doesn't bother me at all, but his specific obsession is putting my bare feet fresh out of my sweaty shoes into his mouth. I know myself well enough to know they can get pretty rank and gross by the end of the day. I walk around the gym dressing room barefoot. Ugh. He always wants to kiss me soon after sucking and licking them, and I'm honestly freaked out about what kind of hygiene crisis this may cause him and me. I'm grossed out by it, but I don't want to shame him. What can I do?
Can I say?
Yeah.
As a footman,
Yeah.
I get this 100%. I get two aspects of this. Natalie, jump in here anytime you want. I get the I'm into the smell of the elephant's must. Do you know what I mean by that? Like I love like a woman's real stink.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between like, she's got like an unhealthy vagina stink,
Right.
or she went rollerblading and like now she's going to have like that. Like I like that. I like if I'm into someone, their fluids and their smells turn me on.
What about like a toe fungus, though?
That's not the kind that I like. Like that would be like, hey, your vagina's unhealthy. You know what I mean, Natalie? Are you feeling this on anything?
Yeah, so for you, it's not the like, it's like after a normal day, not after walking barefoot at the gym.
No, but like, you know how like I will be known to take a woman's panties out of the hamper and sniff her panties. That because I'm like, ooh, there's her like smell. Even the butt area, I'm into that.
What would you have to see in the panty, the gusset of the panty, which is that...
The gusset?
The gusset is the area...
There's always going to be, like, the white, like, the fluid. Like,
but would something be a turnoff for you? What would have to be...
Shit would be a turnoff. I'm not into pooping or anything like
Okay.
that. I'm not... That I'd not be into. I don't think blood would be a turnoff, but it might be a concern.
Why? It's such a natural part of our
but I'm saying like when
non-period.
No, if it was non-period blood, I'd be like, oh my god, like what did I break? But that would be. But and I'm also into like sucking a woman's feet. I love that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that like I don't think that like her end of I get both aspects of this, but this particular thing is not probably something I would do. I would get the fact that she was like, hey. Like you gotta like you're letting a lot of people feel vulnerable when you put their feet in your mouth.
Yeah.
So I get that. So there's got to be some compromise where you're like, hey, she lets me put my feet in her mouth and kiss her. She just doesn't want to like lick whatever shit she's been stepping in all day.
Right.
Let me like could I curb it a little bit so that we can do this?
So if you wash the hands before a finger bang, everyone feels the best.
I always do that too.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's kind of this, if something's going to be inserted, maybe give it a wash or a rinse. But then again, if his thing is how nasty they get, then I say to her, you've got to say to him, just don't transfer it to my mouth after. That means kissing's off the table after that. Like, honey, you gotta govern for yourself here.
Yeah, this guy wants too much.
Right. Well, I mean, you have to put the boundary there. You can't tell him, she says, I don't want to shame him. So don't shame the guy, but, maybe address it and just say, you know what? Maybe you need to tell him exactly where your feet have been all day. And if it gets him even more aroused, great. But then be like, this is what I'm concerned about entering my mouth.
I don't get the whole tiptoeing around, pun intended, of the fucking shaming aspect. What's wrong with being baby? I like when you put your feet in my mouth. Two things. If there's times where it's like, I went to the shower, just went for a run, came back, then you could kiss me after. But after the entire day, I'd rather not have that in my mouth.
Right.
Like, what's shaming about that? To be like, hey, your weird kink that most people wouldn't even do, here's a slight boundary around it. This is a big deal?
There's nothing wrong with just saying it. You know what?
Yeah.
If you want to suck and lick on them as filthy as they can be after I've been barefoot everywhere, just know that I don't want that in my mouth after.
I get it.
Maybe there's a little mouthwash moment.
Yeah, that I wouldn't be in. Like, I like sucking a woman's feet, but it's like I wouldn't want her feet to be like after she's been walking around in flip flops around the city all day. I'd be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that's like putting my dog. It's like my dog's foot in his. He always puts his paw on my face. Like, motherfucker. Like, I spray it with this thing. I'm like,
Yeah, but you wouldn't put it in your mouth and suck on it, right?
No, but Brutus puts his if he fucking puts his paw on my. He's big and strong. It's like he could jam his fist up my ass. He could do whatever he wanted to me.
I'll simmer
he
on that
abuses
visual.
me.
Your dog's into that.
He's into that.
He's into it. Give us the next one.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, you
Okay,
got this.
from Tyler. I took notes on this one. Freelance work-sleep balance. Hey, Justin and Laura. I started freelancing for some web design work during the pandemic and found it more profitable than my 9-to-5. So a year ago, I went full freelance. But I have no idea how to structure my work hours. I think about work obsessively, and I'm struggling to sleep more than a couple hours before I wake up to return to the computer. Have I taken on too much? Do I have a sleep disorder? Is this a kind of OCD? I'm kind of worried about seeing this behavior evolve.
This one really speaks to me.
This one speaks to me, too.
I think a lot of people are going to relate to this. People are all going to say, yeah, this is kind of the shit that I'm in right now.
You go first. I took notes on this.
All of these things. Have I taken on too much? Yes. Do I have a sleep disorder? You've given yourself one. Is this a kind of OCD? I'll let you address that one. But you should be worried about seeing how this evolves because it's out of control. You're unable to at least give your body what it needs. I say you got to put in office hours at this point. If you want to continue taking on such a high workload and maybe saying yes to far too many projects, at least give yourself the designated work hours. Even if it's 12, which is longer than a regular workday, put those fucking boundaries up and say, after 9 p.m., I'm not doing the work. And I know that's hard because it's so easy just to say it, hold office hours. But it is discipline. You have to put the discipline into it.
I agree with you.
Well, please, I know that.
I'll let Natalie jump in.
Yeah, Natalie, get in on this.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot because a lot of my work I do from home, and it's tough for me to put that on myself where half the time I'm sitting at my computer and I'm sort of half working, half bullshitting. So it goes later into the night because I haven't finished the work I should have done. So it's...
Yeah, I know. I can call you. I can text you at 11.
Yeah,
and you'll be like, it'll be done in 3 hours. Shit.
It's so easy to say turn your phone off while you're working, or put a thing on your computer that doesn't let you go on your bullshit website. Maybe you're not doing that. Maybe you're actually working for 12 hours straight and not bullshitting. But I know that for me, it's a lot of my stuff is due at midnight, and I'm like, I haven't finished it yet, so I have to do it. But for me, it was putting down a personal boundary of I'm actually going to work right now and I'm not going to just half work, half bullshit for an hour. And it's so much easier to say than to actually do it. But.
True.
I've learned this. I actually wrote notes on this to help this person because this is what I have done over the years. So if you're a busy person, there's a lot of different things that take on different priorities. And when it's not structured, and if you have something that, like Natalie was saying, projects that are just due and they're in your house, what happens is the list of things just are constantly swimming around your head, and you're like, fuck, I have to do this. And then if it's got no structure, you don't know where the beginning, middle, or end is. And then it's hard to feel like you're ever started or done. And then you can get overwhelmed at the prospect of sitting. You're raising your hand now?
Yeah, finish first.
Oh, you get overwhelmed at the prospect of even getting started on one part because you always feel like you're in the middle of chaos.
Exactly.
So this is what, and Alex Hormsey talks about this, and Andrew Huberman both talk about this on their podcast. What I learned is that there's the work-reward relationship in relationship to each aspect of what you're doing. So let's say, what the big things in my life are the creative projects that I have going on. Each one of those creative projects has a million little tasks in it. So if it's like stand-up comedy, for example, it's like writing jokes, putting in for all my shows, performing the actual shows, breaking down the videos from that, making the clips, the schedule of that. Then if it's the dog company I work, it's like, okay, here's 1,000 emails, here's the client letters, here's each one of those people's dog training program. My fitness is like, that's 6 days a week, right? I have that dialed in, so I know what I'm doing with that. Time with my dog, just like things like leisure with him, spending time, quality time training my dog. And then there's like your social life. So the way I do it is I'm like, okay, I write lists. I'm like, in the week, this is the things that I kind of want to get done with this like creative project. I'm like, what is that going to take? So then I write down, I'm like, I'd have to get A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J done, right? And then I'm like, okay. And then I look at the days, and then you do that for each one of the different things in your life. For my workout, it's like, okay, Monday back, Tuesday chest buys, blah, 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 all the way from Monday to Friday, right? Then it's like, so I write down those things in a list. Then I'm like, okay, tomorrow, then you figure out what takes the priority. And then tomorrow, I'm like, all right, if I do A, B, C, D, E for like the podcast, right? A, B, C, D, E for like fitness stuff, A, B, C. And then I look at the day and I'm like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. When it comes down to like busy work that I have to do, I'm like, when am I the most productive? I'm like, when I first wake up, I'm kind of like, my brain is the freshest. That's when it's best for me to like write. Like if we were going to write things for this podcast. And I'm like, just work for an hour and then reward yourself with like either a break or the more fun things that are on the other aspects of that list, and let yourself and like use it as like, I did this thing. Now I get to reward myself. Yeah. And what happens is you realize that you get so much more done in that hour. If you like, some people set a timer. I don't. I put my phone away. I'm like, I just got to write this thing, right? And I always start with the thing that's the easiest, because the momentum of realizing that, wait a second, that was easier than I thought, and then I got the reward of this payoff. It's like it's like all I have to do is swim across the pool in the shallower end of the water. And then through the course of the day, it builds momentum and confidence where I'm like, now I could take on the bigger project of the thing that's like a little bit more difficult to do. And then being okay with like, okay, some of these things get moved till tomorrow. And I think what people realize is like the amount of time we spend like worrying and obsessing and like, shit, I got to get this thing done. And then like that, because then procrastination builds up, is usually double the time of what it takes to actually get these things done. And so like all these people who like are in, they're like experts in like efficacy and in like optimization. They're like, just set a timer, and if you have 4 work blocks of an hour each, and like you reward yourself in between, then like when you sit back down again to do that thing, there's so much more motivation, and you're like primed and ready to go again.
Motivation, but is this,
you know what I mean?
So at the top of your week, and Natalie, I know you got something on this. At the top of your week, are you doing this, and then daily, are you doing this? Like it sounds like I know me. I would spend way too long rebuilding and rejigging this entire itinerary. Yeah,
but like here. I don't obsess about that part. Like I just have like a notebook that's sitting by the chair that I like work in and also masturbate in. It's the same chair, right? And then as things pop up in the day, like on that notebook, it's like, right, don't forget, call Natalie, get the titles for the podcast. Blah, blah, like 3 things I'd have to ask Natalie. Then it's like, ask Mike to make the flyer for this show. Call back these 3 clients, blah, 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 blah. Call my doctor, like personal thing. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's certain things that have to get done by a certain day. I'm like, okay, I'll put an M Monday.
That's the key.
Monday. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, okay, so if I do these 2 things, then I could work out in here. And then I have like this, like, you got to be flexible with it. But you get so used to like working that way that it just gets like, I could do it without writing it down at this point. It's just nice to have it written down because I don't want things floating around in my head. And I'm a person who doesn't fucking sleep. Like I've always had sleep issues, especially when it's like, if I overwork in the evening, like if I'm sitting down and I start editing like a video, and Natalie, you must have this thing. When you're editing a video, when you're on fucking Premiere, it's like a video game. Time disappears. And I'm like, I just sat there for it's 2:00 in the morning. Then I'm a little bit in work mode. And then because I'm also on the phone, I'm like, oh, I could go check the fucking dating apps now. Yeah. Then it's and then before you know it, I'm watching the sun go up. So it's like, I have to be like, dude, fucking like make sure that you you have to have some sort of like sleep hygiene with this. But this person just sounds like like you stay manic if these things aren't like structured in a way, because like, we're animals. Like you have to structure it the same way you'd structure like a dog's schedule.
Natalie, jump in. What were you holding on to?
It was basically just that I do more or less the same thing that you do, but rather than specific days, I just do like a list of short-term, mid-term, and long-term things I have to do, and then it would be like the easy stuff is short-term, and it feels good to physically check them off.
Yeah, and it's I always think like in the beginning when I look at something, I'm like, fuck, I got like, if it's the end of a weekend, right? And I'm like, okay, we just did 4 shows. That means there's 4 hours of comedy to look over.
Sunday Scaries.
4 hours of comedy to look over. I know how many clips want to go out this week. Editing those down, and then like, sending them off to. The other thing is like it takes sometimes a little while, especially if you're like a perfectionist and this person's like, they sound like they're a little bit like that, like type A. It's hard to let go of doing everything yourself because you're like, I know I'll do it right. Right. So when I had like my TV show on CBS, it was hard for me to turn over the entire editing process to them because I'm like, they're going to
surrender that.
To surrender. They're going to miss things. So now it's like, I know that if I'm like, hey, Natalie, could you give this? Like, I trust her, right? Mike, who does like a lot of my clips, I'm like, Mike, give it to me like this. And I'm like, I trust him. So being able to offload stuff to people that you trust and sort of like get a lot of that busy work done frees you up so much. But it takes a while to find those people.
Exactly, to assemble that team. It can be a challenge, especially as a freelancer.
Yes, and when you run projects, I've always sort of like ran projects. It's like it's important to and also like being able to like let go of things that aren't perfect. Like there's so many times like little mistakes get made, and I'm just like, so what? Like what's the like what I'm like if there was a big mistake and God forbid like this went out a day late because someone I'm being like and then what happens? Then what happens? They come they knock on my door with rifles? Like what happens?
Right.
Who cares?
What's the ultimate consequence?
Letting go of like it's like shit happens.
Your quality of work will improve astronomically when you are getting proper sleep.
That is correct.
I will say that as well.
I need medications for that, but yeah, that is true.
Well, there's, if you need that to help shut it down, then so be it.
I do.
Right?
Once I can fall asleep, I'm good. Not in Los Angeles, only in New York. In LA, I need nothing. I fall asleep at 11 o'clock. I'm up at 7. My what is it called? Circadian rhythms are locked in Los Angeles the second the plane lands. I cannot sleep in New York City.
There's a fuzz in the air of New York. There's a frequency in here, and it drives people a little mad. But that's part of why we love it. Good luck to you, my friend.
Yes. What's next? You take it.
Okay. Making the first move. This one is from Javier.
Oh, this guy Javier's written in a few times.
Ooh.
Javier was the guy who wouldn't stop working all the time. He actually says that in here. Go ahead.
Okay, Javier. How's it going, Justin and Laura? ! I've been having trouble initiating any physical encounter with my partners. I don't have a problem when they initiate it, but I don't want to always be the one to be led into a sexual encounter. I don't want to come off too aggressive and be labeled a creep, but I would also like to be the one to take charge. Would love any tips on how I can initiate the first move without being too aggressive, or am I just not with the right people? Peace and love. Javier, recovering workaholic.
Go.
Okay. This new world that we're in, this post-Me Too world, the goal was not to fucking castrate you guys.
Thank you for saying it.
That was not our intent. It wasn't to like diminish you into these shivering, tiny, cut down to nothing versions of yourself. We still want you to be the bright, the brave, the beautiful, fabulous creatures that you are, men. We just ask that you check in with us and respect us. Like, I hear this a lot. I hear this so often from men that are like, I don't want to be a creep. I don't want to be deemed aggressive. And it's like, first and foremost, you're living in a paranoia to begin with. I mean, do you have some creepy experiences in the past? Have you been called a creep in the past? Have you been accused of being aggressive?
If I'm remembering correctly with him specifically, he had just obsessed over work and his social life diminished to shit and then wanted to start dating a little bit more and then successfully had.
Okay.
Based on, I remember that, right, Natalie? I'm remembering, like, he's written it a few times. So
I think
I
so,
remember
I'm not
Javier
sure.
being like a dude who just like, his nose was in work constantly and like just like shut that all down.
Javier,
So,
it's really I would say this is actually simpler than what you may be fearing that it is. I would lead with your words before you lead with your physicality when it comes to potentially being the one to lead a situation into the sexual realm. I would lead with your words first and maybe take a moment to express what it is that you want to see happen in the encounter, because it's better than leading with your physicality and maybe entering into some truly shady shit. But try it with your words first. See if you can excite the situation to go that way by communication.
yeah.
What do you...
Nothing. I'm listening to you. I'm listening and learning. I like listening to you talk.
There's also the idea of if you know
I appreciate
if
you.
you know the partner
was your
well
day?
enough, if you know the partner well enough, I mean, you said partners.
Partner. You said partners.
You can try to mirror their actions as well. If there's something that they've done in the past that you notice maybe is their move or whatever, it could be playful and it can be kind of fun and exciting to then mirror that to them. I mean, again, you don't want to proceed if someone's telling you no, or I'm not into it, and it feels ridiculous that I have to say that. But, I don't think that the answer here is to just bow your head into submission and not get what you want. You still need to get what you want. Try it first with words.
That's good.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can get what you want.
I would add this.
Yeah.
In today's modern age, which I've never subscribed to, men have become one of two things: neutered house cats who need permission slips from the HR department that say, check this box if it's okay to ask you if it's okay to ask you if it's okay to ask you out or do A, B, C, D, E, ultimately, and fuck you. Or because they're like, fuck it, I'm just going in and I'm going to do it. Nice to meet you, dick pic. They're either neutered house cats or fucking Neanderthals. The art of chivalry has died, and I don't know a woman on the planet who doesn't appreciate chivalrous actions from a man who takes charge and also makes his sexual attraction to her very overt and blatant. That's a delicate and artistic balance of being able to say, like, yes, I plan on fucking you later after this dinner that you're going to put this nice dress on that I ordered for you, blah, blah, blah. Right? Like, that's sort of like dead. And with these people that you're with, right? I assume he means women. With these people that you're with, I feel like I sort of lead with the air of what it is that I want anyway, so you don't get it twisted that, like, we're not buddies here. You know what I'm saying? Which doesn't mean I wouldn't do all the same things I would if I were just your really good friend who's making you laugh and asking you about your day and taking interest to what you're saying and expressing things about myself and being vulnerable. At the same time, like, my stare holds a little bit too long and my hand, like, rubs your thigh. You see what I'm saying? So stop drooling.
Has that ever been received negatively? And how do you handle that?
It would never be received negatively without me knowing it. No one would have to say, like, hey, slow down. And me be like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought, like, I'm emotionally intelligent. So also, like,
but is that a hard thing to learn? Because it sounds like some people, Javier is having a struggle with this.
You know what?
I want to know if this comes from real specific experiences of him being called a creep, in which case...
Thank you. Yeah.
He sounds a little tentative to me. And if he's a little bit tentative, right, then he's like, shit, I don't know if this is, like, okay or not. I would, like, lead with it more, but he sounds like a charming... In the way he writes this letter, he sounds like a charming, nice guy who, if he was going to write me a letter explaining some sexual act that he want to do, I don't think it would sound like a fucking pig writing it. You see my point?
I think you can ask how they're doing in a way that leads to where you want it to lead.
Yeah, and I also get the fact that it's like there's been times where, like, I've been dating somebody, like, this just happened. I was not as into this girl as she was into me. I wasn't, right? And we had, like, a weekend together. I just wasn't, and I thought I would be. And so the sexual acts were initiated more by her. And of course she picked up on it. And she was like, am I not, like, she was like, you just don't have, like, a big sexual appetite. And I was like, without doing anything to, like, insult her, I was like, No, I do have a big sexual appetite. It's just like, I'm just a little off because like I've blamed it on something else because I'm like, I'm not an asshole.
Why didn't you just say I'm not feeling this?
Because it was a compartmentalized amount of time that we were going to be together, which I could have easily faded out without, there was nothing she was doing wrong.
What is a fade, like a soft ghost or something?
It wasn't a soft. No, it wasn't a soft ghost because she blew. I told you she blew it up and made it into an explosion. I was like, well, she just made that super easy. But no, I could have easily been. Yes. But I could have easily been like, no, we would have seen each other less frequently, and like. You can let somebody down softly without hurting them, especially if it's like it just has nothing to do with them. If you're like, yeah, I'm just like, our pheromones don't mix the way I thought they would have. So there was no reason to tell her anything, and I absolutely like.
You don't think she might be wondering what happened?
No, because she blew it up she made an insane chick explosion, which just sort of did the job of settling not only any sexual letting down I'd have to do with her. I was like, please don't ever call me again. And
do men bank on this?
No,
is this
never. No.
This
was no. I would have just as easily been able to be like, listen, I think you and I there's a million ways that I could have ended this aspect of a relationship, kept a friendship, right? And done it softly because there was nothing she did wrong until she did something that was so wrong, unrelated to this, where I was like, do me a favor, don't ever talk to me again, which you'd have to really do a lot for me to say that. But that's not related to this. I'm saying there is a way that if I'm not the one if my appetite for that person isn't strong as their appetite is for me, it's like we still had good sex. I was just like, I just wasn't into like doing it again afterwards, or like I was like I could have like done other things instead. I would have rather seen what was on TV first. That's not her fault.
I feel like it would be we could enter into like an entire hours-long discussion, but what caused her explosion?
Straight up, this is not Justin reading a situation incorrectly, or making somebody seem insane for the benefit of my own pleading my case on this.
Fair disclaimer.
This person is fucking out of their minds, and when other people were like, you should be careful, that person's out of their mind, I was like, well, I don't really see it that way. Let me just judge for myself. I was like, oh, clarified. Yes, this person is out of their fucking minds. And when what they did was so unacceptable to me, I was like, hey, you are not allowed to do or say those things to me, and that's the end of this conversation. Right. Figure it out. That's it.
But you wouldn't be found
and it's rare. This is rare.
Provoking.
I'll show it all to you.
Even by your actions
or
lack thereof.
No, because no, absolutely not. And what I'm saying in terms of like my sexual appetite, not being sex was still happening. No. I'm
just checking.
And even if I was, you would ask those things or address those things, even if you were angry about it. To you know what people do when they're like, you know what, something's upsetting me, I'm not saying it, so let me sabotage the whole thing completely. It's like, congratulations, you did that.
That's a very human.
It's very human and very childish.
Yeah, but it
so I was like, okay, so now this is what happens. Like,
it's part of our humanity.
Now
We're
this is taken away. No, I would 100% be honest with you and be aware that I did that. And if I was in the wrong with that, I would apologize to someone. I never want there to be bad blood in anything.
Yeah.
Someone would have to make a big fucking mess in order for me to be like, you know what? Hey, don't ever speak to me again. I'll show it to you. Yeah. I'll show it all to you.
Well, we'll do a part 2 on that.
I'll show it all. I'm just never going to say this person's name because I wouldn't do that. But no, I will show it to you.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah.
Or we want to save it for the Patreon.
You know what we can do? We can open Patreon back up because I paused it. So I think what happens is we can take the rest of these and we will decide which ones go out here. And then if not, we'll put them all collectively into Patreon. And then me and Laura open Patreon. So let's just finish these out. And if we say goodby before you hear the end of these, just know that they will be waiting for you elsewhere. And I will let you know where to find those. Keep going. This next one's fucking nuts. Can you read this one?
Oh, my goodness. Great title on this. Cum Drooler.
I've never even heard of something like this.
This is from Allison. We have a name on this one. Hey, Justin. Hey, Laura. Welcome back. Thank you. I've noticed...
She was definitely talking to you now.
This is for me.
Yes.
I've noticed when my guy gets aroused, his mouth His mouth produces more saliva. I can handle the kisses getting a little wetter, but I seriously detest being spit on. And when he's on top, right before climax, it's a pretty regular occurrence that a string of drool will spill from his mouth somewhere onto me.
That's fucking gross.
It
I'm sorry.
It takes me right out of it. He usually just laughs and apologizes afterwards. Like it's no big deal. I love everything about the sex up until that horrific moment. What can I/we do about this?
Get rid of him.
Some people are so into that.
I'm into the spit. Listen, can I go off on this a little
Please,
bit?
and then I'm ready after you.
I dated this one girl, right? She met me at a show, and we, from the moment we started, like, it was just like, it was in the air enough. Like, I was like, oh, this chick's like kinky like I am.
Yeah.
It was in the air enough that I was just like I opened my mouth for her to like spit and she spit in my face, and which I love. And then I was just like, oh my God, like I found my match.
Yeah.
Like, I've been looking for you. And then it was like we would spit in each other's face and lick it off.
Yeah.
Like, and then, like, she was like, and she would tell her sister, like, because her sister was there when we met. She was like, yeah, go fuck it. She was like, oh yeah, he does all like those crazy things I love. So I'm into that.
But that's different.
This is different than that.
Yes. This is drool.
Drool?
This is drool. Listen, I would say my advice for you, Allison,
This is like Love on the Spectrum shit.
ruin his orgasm. Ruin it. Call that shit out in the exact moment. Yell, ew, and roll over. You have
That's
to
so
let
gross.
it be known.
I have a question. Has she ever brought this up to him?
Doesn't
I would
say.
She's
say-
bringing it up to us.
I would
Yeah.
say first time, don't bring it up like that. Just say it out of the moment. But if he keeps doing it anyway, then do what Laura said.
Dude,
Right.
like figure that out, man.
I mean, people's bodies have crazy, wonderful reactions to arousal. And yes, a lot of the times for everyone, more production of wetness and but I don't want a drool string to
Like
be
a
tipped
drool.
over into my face. That would take me
it's
right
different.
out of it.
A lot of people like spit in their mouth during sex. That is like I like kissing where it's like I'm trying to see if you still have tonsils.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like it like really
Yeah,
wet
yeah,
and
yeah.
sloppy like that. But it's like the drool. It just seems like you know what I'm saying?
Well, it just doesn't seem. It seems like
It's the opposite of sexy here.
Well, it's not intentional, like a spit to the face. This is like
Right.
This is something seeping out,
And she's watching it.
she's watching it.
It's like
while
someone's
he's on
sweating
top
on
of her.
you. Like someone
I
who's like
don't really mind that.
No, but I'm saying if like they had like a sweat dripping off their nose and you weren't into it and it went blood and then it landed on you. Like when Colin was shooting his
That's
special.
landed-
Remember when he
yeah.
was shooting his special and he had that sweat drip on his nose and he had to wipe it so he could get the joke out because it was like 115 degrees when we were shooting this special.
I've been in that situation where the sweat drips into the eye and then you realize how like salty sweat is, and I've been through that. But I think you have to tell Allison, you have to tell him.
Yeah, be like,
you
dude,
have to say to him.
when you do me a favor. I get that, like, I love that, like, I make you salivate like that. When you drool on me, it's like you can make that not happen, right, dude?
Right.
could-
Otherwise, you're just going to be skirting this the whole time. Like, let's try and come in a different position. Let's try and just get it out in the open. Say it, Allison. You drool on me. I don't know if you even notice it. You drool on me.
No, he
and
apologizes.
he usually just laughs and apologizes afterwards.
That's
like,
the
I don't-
more
I
annoying
don't-
part.
I don't think that's him knowing that she has a problem. That's just him
Right.
being like, haha, oops.
Yeah, and I think that you
I
need
don't know
That's
if she's
more
brought it up.
annoying.
You need to say it's a problem. You need to say that, hey, this actually like ruins it for me. Well, it sounds like it does. It takes her right out of it. Like that. I don't
It
blame
ruins
you.
it for me.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that one, Allison.
No one does.
Oh goodness.
Last one. This
Yeah.
I really don't get this one.
Okay.
Okay. I hate the doctor's office from Marco. Love the show, especially the chance to ask y'all questions like this. I'm a 34-year-old man who hasn't been to a doctor for an actual physical since my high school days. Of course, I've made clinic visits for STD screenings, urine samples, COVID vaccines, and a visit to the ER for a dislocated shoulder in 2019. My girlfriend has begun harping on me more than ever to find a doctor for regular checkups, and I don't know what's keeping me from doing this except a feeling in my gut that I really don't, all capitals, want to go. I don't have any complaints or concerns with my body. I'm under 40. All right, well, whatever. Some of us aren't. I don't have any complaints or concerns with my body. I'm under 40 and don't like the idea of the physicality involved in the exams, external and internal. She's convinced I have a deep-rooted phobia about the doctor because of my resistance to go, and hey, maybe she's right. How urgent is my need to start annual physicals, and how can I start getting over the hesitation as a whole?
It might be a phobia. I think that's a real thing, to be afraid of the doctor.
He doesn't sound like he's afraid of the doctor. He goes to the doctor a lot. He just doesn't want to go. He's being a baby. I'm like that too.
The thing is, you will end up having the unpleasant doctor's appointment of your nightmares the longer you wait. If you wait and you say, no, fuck it, I feel fine, I'm good, whatever, you're going to find your ass in the doctor's office, and they're going to have to open you up in places deep and examine you as thoroughly as possible, and that will be unpleasant because you will have something.
Let me tell you something. I have so many things I have to get blood work done once a month for the optimization shit that I do with hormones, etc., which is a pain in the ass. Yeah. Because I have to go to the lab. It's first thing in the morning. They take blood. But I'm like, yeah, you have to go and do that. And then they do all the and now I'm 40-something, so I have to go get a colonoscopy.
A colonoscopy.
And I'm like, I don't want to go. Like, who wants to go and do that? But this chick is cool because I love a chick who like cares about their dude. It's like, you have to go to the doctor.
And it's saying like,
I love a chick like that.
I think that this is a gift in your
physical.
life.
It's a physical.
Dude, it's a physical, and like they're not.
Get it when you're getting your flu shot done.
Right.
You can do two. You could do 2 in 1.
What's the reality of a physical, right?
Cough.
You do
this. How do you feel? You're still this tall.
Yeah, blood pressure.
It's nothing.
And it's really nothing.
It's a 3-minute fucking process. Go in for like some fucking cool medications you want. Get some Xanax.
It's a nothing experience until it's not.
Could it be? I've heard people say this before, where they're like, until I go, like it's like the what's it called, Schrodinger's cat or whatever, where it's like secretly being afraid that there is something wrong, but as long as I don't go and get it checked, then there's nothing wrong.
That's avoidance.
Yeah, the bliss. What do they call it?
Blissful ignorance.
I'm like that with certain things.
When it comes to your body and your health, come on.
Remember when you used to have to like wait a week for AIDS test results?
Yeah, well,
even if you had like nothing to worry about, I'm like, oh my god, I jerked off 3 times, and I know that I was on the subway an hour before and I didn't wash my hands. I'd be like, that would be the worst week ever. Because you could convince you. I could be like, wait a second. I think someone's had like their cuticle on their nail. ... Blah 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 blah. Joe DeRosa used to call me.
OCD.
Joe DeRosa used to call me years ago. He's your big buddy. I gotta talk every Sunday, buddy. I gotta call you. I fingered this girl and I had a hangnail. Do I have AIDS? I used to have to talk him off the ledge of thinking that he had AIDS every fucking Sunday. It was hilarious. But I get that. But you know what? Just go to the doctor. It's just.
But start doing it.
He just sounds like he's like being a baby. He's like, I don't want to go.
Yeah, but 34 also, like, you do want to start getting a relationship going with a general practitioner. If you don't have anybody at that point, it's time.
I have this gay doctor, right? I sent Josh to him, by the way. I love having this dude because I'm like, I can tell him anything, and I'm so honest with him. I'm like, listen, I need this medication, like, and he's not the kind of guy that's just gonna give me like a ton of drugs that I asked for, because I'm like, dude, I need this anti-inflammatory for my shoulder. By the way, my sleeping pills, like, you have to up the milligrams. I'm not abusing it. And he's like, I love that I could just, and he's like so cool because he like knows me and he knows that I'm like, I told him I was like, I'm like sober now. I'm not like drinking. I stopped doing fucking coke. My eyes got like the cool thing is like. People are like afraid of the doctor, like they won't tell their therapist things because they don't want to get in trouble. You know, people like that.
Of course, and it's a waste of your time at that point.
I know, but I get that people are like that. Vecchione used to be like that. We used to talk, and he used to tell me, he'd be like, tell me like things that he was going. I was like, why don't you tell your therapist that? He goes, I don't want to tell him that. Then he's gonna like be mad at me.
Because
like, he's your therapist.
You want to look like you're improving.
You want to look
with
like
your therapist.
I get that. I guess it's like certain clients of mine know that like with the dog stuff, I'm like such a hard ass. I'm like, why is this like why are we doing this again? They're like, because I haven't practiced. Because they know I'll get rid of them.
Right.
Because there's like a standard. I'm like, I'll kick you off the fucking team.
Right. But with humans, there's less of that, especially when you're in the fields of medical and
they're
mental.
There to help you.
They're there to help you.
This was delightful.
I loved it.
Laura, I appreciate having you here.
I want more.
Okay. You can have more. tell everybody where they can find you.
Absolutely. You can check me out at lauraxdesiree.me or any of the social media platforms. Laura Desiree, I'm there.
Nat Skabaths.
Natalie DeChico edits on Instagram. Watch Gas Digital now on YouTube. We just hit our 1-year episode, so
Yay.
check that out. Gas Digital exclusive YouTube channel.
Yes, and as for me, it's at I Am Justin Silver on all social media platforms, IamJustinSilver.com. I've got a bunch of road dates coming up, but as you know, we put these out in all different orders, so who knows where I'm going to be and where we are right now in the world, in time and space. So go to IamJustinSilver.com, and I also have all my show dates and stuff on my social media at I Am Justin Silver. For this podcast, currently, maybe not remaining, it is at Himbos Podcast on all social media platforms. Again, Himbos Podcast on gmail.com for all the listener questions and everything else like this. We will probably open up Patreon again. Thank you for liking and subscribing on YouTube. Thank you for the 5-star ratings and reviews. Please say something nice to Laura so she can read it and feel motivated and feel happy that you're paying attention. As for us, we will see you next week.
We are the Himbos. We are not bimbos. We are the Himbos.